So this time we want to have a look at how you're going to complete your payroll journal. Okay, I've put this down into 8 steps and we're going to record each one as we go. Now, when we go through it like this, it seems like an awful lot, but you should be able to do this quite rapidly. Okay, so your first one is you're going to print out your gross to net on your control summary reports, and at that stage in your exam you should have all of the pay slips in your folder to have a look at. So remember, you're probably only going to need one for the examiner, so when you're finished doing your payroll journal you can delete all of the pay slips other than the one that you want to keep out of your folder. So print a new gross to net and control summary, and then you're knowing that you have your pay slips there that you can have a look at. Why do we want the pay slips? Because in step 2 we're going to look at what I call outliers, and I'll show you what I mean by that, and we're going to decide what actions then you need to take for each one of those outliers. Okay. Number 3, you're going to take a note of any supplier pensions of contributions. So we're going to take the 3 of those together and we're going to have a look at them. So let me see, where is my, here I go. Okay, I'm sorry now I can't make this any bigger, but if I do you won't be able to see the full screen. So when I talk about outliers, I mean gross pay, tax, PRSI, USC, net pay, employers, PRSI. All of those are standard figures. Okay, so you expect to see those. What you don't necessarily expect to see are these ones here. So anything under this gross deductions heading, anything under this net deductions heading, or anything under this non-taxable including BIK, anything under those headings you've got to identify for yourself. Now, in this case, and remember that in your exam you'll have just done this, so you'll know which one it is. So in this case, the 8167 is bus pass. The 245 is pension. The 480 is benefit in kind, and the 484615, pardon me, I'll get that there, that is redundancy. Okay, so you've got to think about that. For starters, let me just pop back to our list. So we've got to identify the outliers and decide what you need to do with each, and make a note of any supplier's pension contribution or employer's pension contribution. So where am I gone now? I'm going to this one. Alright, so the 8167, that is a gross deduction for this particular person. Then I'm looking at the 245 being a pension contribution by that person, and I'm going to make a note for myself that there was also a pension contribution from the employer of 80. Now where am I finding that? I'm finding that down here as I go along on one of the other pay slips. I'm going to find that. There's the bus pass. That's the benefit in kind, redundancy, and employer's pension. Okay, so there's the employer's pension there on James Kiernan's payslip. Okay, so I've made a note of that. That doesn't show up, as we've just seen, that doesn't show up on my gross to net, so I've got to make a note of that myself. Okay, so there's the pension contribution, then I've got the 480 of benefit in kind, and I've got my redundancy. Okay, so if I take it from the top, the 8167, that 8167 is money that the person has paid to me, so Martin O'Neill has paid it back to the employer towards his bus pass. It's included in the gross pay, so I don't have to do anything with it, it's already there. That 245, pardon me, but the 8167, I have to pay that back then to the employer basically, so that's going to be in one of my liabilities. Okay. The 245, that is pension that James Kiernan has paid. I have to add my 80 to that. I'm going to have 245 plus 80 is 325, and I'm going to owe that to the pension fund. The 480 is benefit in kind. Always deduct benefit in kind from the gross, because this figure that you see over here as gross pay is going to be the gross including that benefit in kind. But benefit in kind isn't actually cash, so we've got to take it back off again for our payroll journal because we don't actually pay the 480. Okay, so in this case, working it backwards, this is for Linda Marr. So that 3496.67, I'm going to deduct the 480. So any benefit in kind has to be deducted. Okay. The only other thing that you will deduct from the gross pay will be any sick pay. So if a person had money deducted from them because they were sick, you're going to take that off because the gross pay still shows the amount that they should get in salary, but the sick pay would be a gross deduction which would be taken off the gross pay because they won't actually get paid that money. Okay, so the two things that you have to watch out for to take off are any sick pay, you're going to take that off the gross, any benefit in kind, you're going to take that off the gross. Other than that, you're not going to deduct anything from gross pay when you're doing your calculations. Okay, so what have we got? We've got 81.67. Okay, I don't have to deduct that from gross pay. All I have to do is say I owe that to repay the staff bus pass scheme that I had set up. For James Kiernan, I've got 245 plus 80 that I'm going to owe to the pension fund. I'm going to deduct the 480 from the gross pay because it's benefit in kind, and it doesn't matter what benefit in kind it is, you will always deduct that from the gross pay because we don't actually pay it. And then the 4846.15 is an additional expense to us, which is redundancy. So I'm going to have to include that in my expenses. Okay, so I'm going to include that in my expenses. So all things being equal, when I look at this, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and the employer's pension that I've got to take note of that aren't in our usual figures. Okay, so let's see, going back here, identify the outliers and decide what you need to do and make a note of any supplier pension contributions. Okay, so list everything as number 4 that this pay run has cost you. And these are all your expenses and they're going to be debit entries. So I'm going to pull across an Excel here. Here's my Excel. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and I'm going to start doing my debits and credits. So let's say I'm going to do debit and credit, and here I'm going to do my expenses. Okay, well the first thing I know, and you would be able to write certain things down straight away. So directors, salary and staff salary and employer PRSI, you would always be able to write down. You know they're always going to be there. I'm going to make a little bit of space here and I'm going to say then I always know I'm going to have net pay and I always know I'm going to have P30. Okay, so I'm always going to have those. And just over here I'm going to put in a line for nominal codes, which we'll do in a few minutes. Okay, so I always know I'm going to have those. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my director's salaries. Okay, director's salaries, go back to my, in this case it's Martin O'Neill and Eileen Davis. Okay, so it's these two here added together. I'm just going to click up here, get my calculator going. So it's 4833.33, oops, plus 1833.33. Okay, and that gives me 666.66. I'm just double checking that there isn't anything that I need to take off, and there's not, because there was no benefit in kind, there was no sick pay, so I'm satisfied with that figure. So all the 6s, I'm going to pop back in and put that into my expense for director salaries. Now next then I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say, well, the rest of that was staff salaries. So just to make it easy for myself, I'm going to get, there's my 666, I'm taking off the 0.04, that gives me that, and I'm going to make that into, so 9048.4 is what I get when I have the other 4 added together. So I had the director's pay, I just took that off what was the total, and that gave me the rest. However, I know that I have to take off, so minus 480, because that was benefit in kind. So I know I'm definitely not going to include benefit in kind. I'm looking and I'm seeing, right, there's nothing else there that I have to take off. So 8568.4 is what I'm going to put into my my staff salaries. Okay, and there, 8568.4. Okay, so that's my staff salaries. Next is the employer's PRSI. Employer's PRSI coming straight off the bat here, 981.76. Okay. Now, what else do I see? I have already told myself that I have this cost, this 4846.15 of redundancy. Uh, 4846.15 of redundancy, and I also made a note that I had employer pension contribution. And I made note that that was €80. Okay, they're the ones that I see off the bat. Okay, I'm not going to labour any more on this. I'm going to go straight off to my net pay. Okay, so my net pay figure then, when I look at it, let me just go back here. My net pay figure is here. Okay, again, I'm going to just highlight that, and we've used this one as well. So my net pay figure is 16582.30. So I'm going to use that. That's going to be on the credit side, 16582.30. And my P30 figure, well, I could, if I wanted, add up all of these and the employer's PRSI, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to run down here to my control summary. So let me rotate that again. And I'm going to say, okay, it tells me the amount that I have to look at for, here it is, that I have to look at for revenue totals. So there's my 4153.98. That's told me that that is the figure that I'm going to have to put in on my P30. Okay, so I'm just going to bang that straight in. I'm not going to do any calculation there. I'm just going to use the figure that they've given me. Okay, now when I look, I see, okay, staff salary, director salary and employer's PRSI are all covered between the net pay and the P30. Okay, I've got to also see that I owe a pension. I owe money to the pension. Okay, so I'm going to say pension provider. I owe that person. And what do I owe them? I owe them, going back here, okay, I owe them, get rid of that guy, the 245 from here, which we deducted from the gross of that person's wages, and the 80 that I actually contributed. So I owe 325 there. Okay, so 325. Okay, what else do I owe? When I look back at my piece here, I see this 8167 that I haven't accounted for yet. And as you account for them, you want to go tick, 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 tick. Okay, you want to tick them as you account for them so that you know that you've covered them all. And if you haven't covered them all, you need to go back and look and see how or where does that affect the money that I've got to pay. So I've got my bus pass, and that is 81.57. Okay, so in this case, I've done everything that I can see quickly. I'm just going to minus that a little so that we can see it all. I've done everything that I can see that I've done quickly, that I can see quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to total these, and then I'm going to look for anything that's missing. Okay, so something is missing. Okay, I'm going to say this is equal to this one minus this one. Okay, and that gives me a figure of 1998. So I'm going to say to you, well, 1998 doesn't look like a number that I have seen before. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to just double check my numbers, and I'm going to say, let's say staff salary, the employer's PRSI. So I'm going back in. Employer's PRSI is right. Net pay is right. redundancy is right, I know my pension is right, this guy is right. So the only one that could be wrong is my director's salary and my staff salaries. So I'm just going to go back in and do my calculation again. So I'm going to go cancel. 15715.04 minus 6666.66. That gives me 9048.38. Okay, and off that I have to take 480. Okay, so that gives me 8568.38. And I've put in 8. I've put in a wrong number. So 85. Where's my calcul? 68.38. 8568.38. Okay. Okay, so I still have a 10 cents of a difference. So let me see. I'm happy with this one. I'm happy with this one. I'm happy with this one. I'm happy with this one and this one. Okay, so far so good. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this one. I'm happy with this one. And this one should be 67, not 57. Okay, that wasn't the type of difference that I was hoping to get, but in any case, so you'll see here that you may or may not be able to find the solution to your question. You may or may not be able to find the solution to your difference very quickly. So going back to our list, make a list of everything that the pay run has cost you, that's your expenses. Make a list of who you owe, that's your liabilities, they're all credit entries. Total both sides. If they don't balance, spend 2 minutes, guys, only 2 minutes looking for the difference. If you can't find the difference in the 2 minutes, forget about it and put it into suspense. Now we're going to match a nominal code to each expense and liability. We're going to create any nominal codes that you don't already have, and then you're going to enter your journal on Sage with the month-end date and the reference of payroll or something similar to that. So let's get ourselves, I'm just going to open up my nominals here. I'm just going to have a look through. Well, first of all, I'm going to talk about the whole cost area, and I'm expecting this to be down in the 7s. Okay, so I'm going to have a look here and see what I can find in the 7s. Okay, so I've got director salaries, so I'm going to use 7001 or 7002 for that. Now, because they've already used 7002, that's what I'm going to use. Staff salaries 7003, so I'm happy with that. Employer PRSI 7006. Redundancy I don't have, and employer pension I have, so I'm happy with all of those. Now I'm just going to take this recruitment expenses. Okay, I'm going to take that and I'm going to make that redundancy. Now I can do that because there's nothing in there yet. Okay, so I can do that if I want to. So I've just edited a nominal. So now I've got a redundancy nominal, or indeed you could create a new one, and the new one you would create would probably be 7013. Whatever you like yourself, that's fine. And you won't be penalised as long as it's in that 7,000s. Okay, the next side that I want net wage payable. So these are all liabilities, so I expect these to be in the 2s. Okay, so what have I got? I've got my net wages, there it is, that's fine. I've got my, I'm looking next for my payroll liability. So they've got PAYE here. I'm not fond of that. I'm going to call that P30. I'm just going to change that to say P30. Okay, and I'll save that. Okay, you didn't have to do that, but that's just what I would do. So it's 2210 that I'm going to use there. What else do I need? I need a pension fund. I've got it there already at 2230. And the only other thing that I've got then is the bus pass scheme. Okay, so now remember, the bus pass scheme is a loan that you gave to the employee. Okay, so that's going to be in the 1s. Okay, so someone is going to pay back that. So I'm going to have to create that bus pass scheme. Okay, and I'm going to create it here. Actually, I'm going to edit other debtors. So I'm going to say 1102. and I'm going to call that bus pass scheme. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to just edit that one. But again, as long as it was somewhere around these debtors, so people that owe you money. So remember, with the bus pass, it's neither a payment nor a deduction really. What it is, it's a loan that you're giving that particular employee, and they pay you back over time. Okay, so I've done all of that. I have my list of my debits and credits. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in now and I'm going to do my journal entry. Okay, so my journal entry here, let me see, what date have I got on my, I'm still working in June 17, guys. I'm probably wrecking your head with this, but anyway, I'm going to do the 30 days has November, April, June and November, December. All the rest have, no, 30 days has September, April, June and November. All the rest of 31. So the 31st of the 8th, 17. My reference is going to be payroll, and I'm going to start with, I don't want to start with that one, I'm going to start with my director's remuneration. Okay, and the figure for that, it's an expense, so it's a debit, 6666.66, and I'm working straight from my Excel here, which I have on the other screen that you can't see. So I've got 7003. That's staff salaries, and the figure we got for that was 8568.38. Then we've got employers PRSI. So do you notice all of these are close by to each other in the sevens? Okay, so if you can remember that, you're winning, because you'll be able to find them very quickly in your nominal codes. The next one I changed to look like redundancy, and 4846.15. Then I've got employer pension. So again, let me see, what number did I find on that one? 7. And that was 80. And don't forget, in the employer's pension is only the piece that the employer pays, not the piece that the employee paid. Okay, so finally now I can go back to my bus pass. And that was 8167. Okay, again, just pulling back my, so you can see I've done all of these, and now I'm working on these ones here. There we go. Next up for me then is my, right, so that's the one that is the repayment of a debtor. Then I'm going into my twos, and I'm going to say that I owe net wages. Net wages, net wages, net wages. There we go. And the amount that I owe for net wages is 16582.3. After net wages, I'm going to say that I owe the P30. And the amount that I owe the taxman is 4153.98. And then I'm going to say I also owe the pension fund, which should be here close by as well. Yep, 2230. And the amount that I owe the pension fund is the 80 plus the 245, which is 325. And now you can see that I've got a balance of 0. I've got my payroll and I've got my date. So I'm going to save that. And that is your payroll journal. So quickly through it again. Print your gross to net and control summary reports. You'll need them both. If you want to use scrap paper or the last paper in your exam paper, you can use that to do your doodlings. Okay, if you don't feel like writing on your gross to net and control summary reports. So you should have all your pay slips in your folder at that stage. You look for your outliers, you decide what to do with them. You might have to go back to the pay slips to find out what they refer to. And remember that not all the outliers, let me go back to this again. So let's say that 245 could potentially have 2 or more values in it. So you can't just assume that you're looking for a number of 245. So in this case, let's say if James Kiernan had sick pay and pension, then this figure here could be 900. But you can't assume that it's just one number. You have to break it out into its component parts. Make a note of any, I said suppliers, that should be employer's pension. I can change that here. List everything then that the payroll has cost you. They're all your expenses there on the debit side. List who you owe the money to, their liabilities on the credit side, total both. If they don't balance, look for 2 minutes at the outside for the difference. If you can't find it then, you're just going to put it into suspense. Okay. Match a nominal code to each of your expenses and liabilities. Create or edit any nominal codes you don't already have. Enter your journal, month and date, with the reference to payroll or similar.